Well, today we have Jessica Pete,
What up?
with Once Upon Events. And this is our first podcast. You are my first guest.
I know, I'm excited. I'm a little nervous.
Yeah, I'm a little nervous.
But I'm excited for you.
I'm excited for you.
I just think that this is a next step for you, a little fun thing to do. I'm probably not the best at this, but I'll give it a whirl.
Well, we're winging it over here. This is Life of an Angry Bee. What do I do now that I'm done being the veg boss?
Right. Which is a huge step, right?
Yeah.
Change is scary. I always look at it as change is scary, but I think that we all go through it at different times in our lives, and when things are meant to be, they're meant to be, and you just grow and go. And you're a successful woman. You'll be fine in whatever you do.
Well, I mean, and that's one of the reasons that I chose, you to come on my podcast for the first time, be my first guest.
Thanks.
You are a powerhouse woman. You're a female business owner. You have had a lot of change in your life. I mean, you guys used to live in a completely different world.
Right.
Now you live here on the Central Coast. You're clearly the glue of your family. And well, I look to you for a lot of inspiration because you are a leader and a female leader. And that's what I need to surround myself right now with, are females that have gone through change, gone through adversity, and have picked themselves up and gone forward.
Right. I think that, my company is based in Lake Tahoe, and it still is. And we came here because of my husband's job. And as a woman in business, and a business that at the time, and still is successful, but it was so much easier to work there.
Yeah.
But I sacrificed that to move, right? And that change alone had its frustrations, but also needed to be. And I think it was just one of those things where you just have to adjust and figure out kind of the next step and what's going to work. I don't know if that all makes sense, but it's one of those things where sometimes you just don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
It's a whirlwind, and I tell everyone that moves or just has a change, I really think that it takes a good year to 2 years to find your ground.
Yeah.
Change isn't easy. It doesn't come quick.
Right.
And I feel like there's always that transition period, and you just have to, when you know, like when you find your next step, it clicks and you're like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do.
Exactly.
And, my company is an event planning and design company, and we primarily do weddings, and our focus is South Asian events. So I do a lot of Indian weddings back in Tahoe. But I have to tell you, about 2 seasons ago, I say seasons because we kind of work on seasons,
right.
but
A
2 years
season,
ago,
right? Okay.
I became burned out. And it was one of those things where people would call and say, I'm engaged. And I'd be like, woo. In my head, you have to be excited and congratulations. Right. But the passion wasn't there. I lost that.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
You lose, sometimes you lose the passion, or you lose the path of what you're on, or it becomes so repetitive and life just becomes so everyday and monotonous that it was I am not passionate about this anymore. And I had to really sit down and decide, do I want to continue? Do I want to go a different direction?
Right.
Do I want to, legit go back to school and get another degree, or go just wing it and go back to what I used to do before weddings?
Right. And that can be isolating, right?
Oh, totally.
I mean, you can go really internal and be very isolated, isolate yourself.
Yes.
And as powerful, women, alpha females, you can then, put yourself in a box where you're paralyzed. You can't ask for help because you're not the person that asks for help.
Right.
You're always the I got you person. I got you. Hey, no problem. I'll juggle 20 balls in the air before I will ask for someone to help me juggle those balls.
Yeah, hands down.
So what happened after that? I mean, how did you decide?
Okay, so I just decided that I needed, I love what I do. my background is development, commercial development. So that's what I had done before I went into the event planning and design company.
Yeah.
So I was like, am I going to go back into development, or am I going to figure out what I want to do? And what I did is I took a step back and said, I am only going to do 3 weddings this year.
Yes.
And instead of like 8, because that was a kind of our number,
I'm
going
to
do
back,
3.
right?
I'm just going to choose my clients well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to outsource myself to other things. So we picked up the celebrity golf tournament in Lake Tahoe. Mm-hmm. We did last year, perfect example, I did the Central Coast Air Fest.
Perfect.
It was like a change, and it was what I needed to kind of light the fire under my ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To say, I do want to do this, and I still like what I do, and I love what I do, but it was just that little bit of change.
Yeah.
But you're right. Like in that world,
more of a shift.
It's
really,
a complete shift,
right? And so people keep asking me, oh my gosh, how are you going to handle this change? This is a lot of change, and they keep saying that word, but I keep redirecting it to shift.
Love it.
I'm shifting. Right. You had to shift. I mean, an air show isn't really all that different than a wedding, an Indian wedding.
Right? No, it's a multi-day event.
Right?
It's just a lot more commercial, and I learned a lot about a plane, because in my general terminology, a plane is a plane.
Right.
And that's what I get on, and I travel, and that's all I knew. So all of a sudden it was warbirds and this. So it's a learning. It was just a little bit of change to understand. For me, like you said, it was a shift in the same realm of like what I know and what I do and what I'm passionate about.
Right.
But I do love the word that you're saying. Like you've sold Veg Boss.
Right.
Or your portion. Mm-hmm. And the what is next.
Right.
It's a shift.
It is a shift. It is a shift.
You just have to find
Yeah.
what that shift is going to be.
Right.
And maybe you just take some time for yourself.
I'm on a journey, and I'm embracing my higher goddess.
There you go.
I am. I'm embracing it. I seek my joy purposefully every single day. I stay in my happy. I find that place for me that brings me happiness and joy.
Right.
And
because if Veg Boss wasn't doing that, I mean, if it's
I did get a lot of joy with Veg Boss. I mean, I was a stay-at-home mom for 14 years.
Okay.
I had no idea how to be a Veg Boss. I didn't even know how to use QuickBooks. Sales started going out, and my partner's like, hey, you need to start invoicing. So I sat in this beautiful decorated office and looked at my computer screen like, what do I do now? Right. So I reached out to my female, mom friends, and they're like, oh, let me put the baby down. I'll be right over to help you. I reached out to my community and taught myself how to do QuickBooks. My friend Krista came over, and she's like, let's see, do you want a little logo on the top of your invoice? And I'm like, yeah, how do you do that? So we figured it out. And here we are, almost 6 years later. And I, in the beginning, I joined every group I could because I needed to surround myself with like-minded people, like-minded women who were going to be able to be, to teach me how to be in an industry, a male-dominated industry, right, as a female. And in the beginning, I didn't have a plan B. It was a plan A, and that was it. I was just go. Grip it and rip it. That was the end of it. And there was no failure. I had no idea. And I think that was the beauty of being naive and just, making a decision to shift and go forward. And because I didn't have a plan B to fall back on. I only knew plan A. I was making it work. I was going to make it work. And I did. And it was really great. And I got to do a lot of community outreach, a lot of sponsorships in the community. I am still very proud of the scholarship fund that, I designed a label that every box that we sold of Empress, I still am the Empress. So, and I named it purposely. It was intention. I stood with intention with Veg Boss, and now it's just time to move on. I've taken Veg Boss as far as I can, so now it's time to hand it off to be in hands that are, more capable to taking it to a different level. And I've retained a small amount of Veg Boss for, passive income.
Smart girl.
A girl needs a vacay, I got to go to the spa. But, it's time to pass it off and do something else. And I'm now that I have gotten through the point of mourning the letting go of that, learning the lesson of the letting go.
Isn't that hard?
Oh my goodness.
I don't think people realize like this, the letting go, like
letting go is
difficult to just let it go.
Yeah. So easy to say, right? Oh, let it go. But it is
move
not,
on.
Right.
Oh, I hate that. Just move on.
Right. It's good to start over. It's good to shift. I mean, it's scary, but you definitely see what you're made of. And it's the best opportunity to achieve things that you never thought you could. I never thought I could be veg boss. I mean, I was raised super poor with in a Mexican neighborhood. My mom's Hispanic, my father is Italian, and women are raised to be wives, be mothers, and I am one of 4 girls. I'm the oldest, and I was raised my mom taught me how to cook, how to clean, how to raise kids. I naturally, because of my birth order, was raising sisters and raising cousins and doing that. And I was raised as a beauty queen because, all Mexican men want to marry a beauty queen, right?
How funny.
At college was never talked about. My parents never talked to me about college. They talked to my sister about college, but they never talked to me. Yeah.
They talked to your younger sister, but not
you. They did. Yeah. Because my sister has other qualities, and the qualities that I had were superficial, outward, appearance qualities for them, and they just didn't know any better. So you put me in a sequins gown with a crown on my head, and I can walk down the runway no problem with win Miss Congeniality every single time, but I didn't know how to do anything else. I'll tell you what it did do though. What it did do was it taught me how to run a household.
Yep.
It taught me how to make a budget. It taught me how to manage kids. So all of those 3 things I applied to Veg Boss. Mm-hmm. I learned how to make a budget and made a budget. I learned how to have a staff.
Right.
I learned how to have partners and how to do that. So I applied all of my household mom skills to my business, and it's been very successful. And I am very proud of Veg Boss, but it's time to move on. And so now that I have grieved all of that and let all of that go, focused back to my center, my joy and my happiness, it's where do I go from here? So I want this podcast and content to go out that is, reaching out to other females that have gone through change, that can give me ideas and what do I do now?
Right. Have you thought, now that, like you said, you've mourned Veg Boss, you've kind of gone to the next step.
Yeah.
What has been running through your mind? When you think, what am I going to do next? What is my shift? Have you thought of anything? Obviously this. But is there anything else that you would that kind of you've thought about in past years? I think this is a good step for you. Mm-hmm. I think it's fresh. It's something fun. It's lighthearted. You are known as the businesswoman. I mean, you are, like you said, you are there for everyone. You have your kids. You have like we just discussed, my son showed up the other day with 8 other boys.
Yeah, that's right.
And they run your house, or you run the house, and they're running through it.
That's right. It like I was telling you, I mean, it's so funny because summer's here, and it is an biker gang that just rolls up the driveway, and it's so, I love being the house that all the kids come to. Mm-hmm. I do.
Yeah.
I get out all the Gatorades in the juice box, pull out snacks, put in pizzas. I'm counting heads. How many towels do I need by the pool? I love it. I'm in this period of time where I'm going to allow patience. Uh-huh. I'm really trying to rest.
I was going to say, if I sold my company, my first thought would be spa day for a month.
I've allowed myself to nap. I nap when the sun is up. It's the craziest thing about after I pick Ray up from school usually, or when I get home from whatever I'm doing during the day, I snooze. It's the most bizarre thing to me. It is, and at first I felt a little guilty. Mm-hmm. And now I'm just letting myself sleep. I have been in...
You probably need to decompress.
Seriously.
And just let it go.
Yeah.
And let your body heal.
Fight, flight, or fawn mode my entire life. My mom was very young when she had me. Both my parents, they were 17 and 18 when they had me. So I was, right in their lives. And, we all grew up together. My mom had other kids, my cousins. My mom was the house everyone came to. And I have been in fight or flight my entire life. And then you moved on to getting married and having kids and having that as a job and doing all of these different things. Mm-hmm. But in the beginning of all this, when I shut the door and I pulled my key out of the door at Veg Boss, I decided that I was going to give myself some time to rest. And I felt guilty. I felt selfish. And then I just started leaning into it. And now when things irritate me at all or they disrupt me at all, I just lean out of it. I don't lean into it anymore like I used to. I would lean right into the problem, handle the problem, solve the problem for not only myself, but everyone else first and then me last.
Right.
And now I just lean away from it. I don't get angry. I don't get agitated. I don't let it bother me. I just lean out of it. I lean away from it.
Right.
And that seems to really help. The mountain that was in front of me building Veg Boss and the mountain that was in front of me letting Veg Boss go is so far in the distance that I can barely see it now. And it's so peaceful.
Right. Which really is amazing, honestly, mm-hmm. that you've been able to just take that next step. And really, it sounds like you said, you've moved mountains for companies, your family, relationships. Right. And as anyone that really knows you, they know that you are that person that is the problem solver. Mm-hmm. You're there to, what do you need? What can I get you? What happened? What mm-hmm. can I do? So it sounds like, as a friend, it's just your time to take for you.
Yeah, it is.
To just heal, mm-hmm. probably from past, traumas and issues, and just heal.
Well, I learned from an early age how to solve other people's problems. And as a child, my parents were 17 and 18 years old. There were a lot of problems.
Right.
And so you learn at a very young age in childhood. So through this journey, I've also learned how to be a better mom. Mm-hmm. In giving my children tools. I don't teach them what to think. I teach them how to think. My son recently came up against an issue. It was one of his friends' issue, and it was an integrity issue. And I said to him, well, have you asked him if this is really the kind of man that he wants to be? And he said, Mom, that's a great question. And I'm going to ask him.
Oh. What
kind of man he wants to be. Because, Mom, I've decided what kind of man I want to be.
I love Ray.
Oh,
gosh, can I just give that kid a hug every time I see him?
Oh, man, it's like raising a dragon, I'll tell you.
I feel like he's so much more mature for his age.
Yeah.
Like, he's 13.
Yeah.
My kid would be like, I'm not asking him.
Yeah.
He's such a baby. Not a baby, but he just doesn't he doesn't think through those things. So when I hear other mm-hmm. kids, I'm like, geez,
I'm raising a warrior.
You are.
I am raising a warrior for sure.
And I being the oldest of your siblings, right. I'm that too. Mm-hmm. And I think that added pressure mm-hmm. growing up, you don't really think you're putting as a parent.
Yeah.
I don't see myself. Now when I look back, I'm like, oh my God, I literally carried my family.
Yeah.
And I took care of my sister.
That's
and
right.
I, was always making sure that everything was okay. And mm-hmm. I was always worried about my parents and what their situations were and
right.
their relationships and food, who was cooking dinner. It was like I was a mini mom mm-hmm. as a child.
Yeah.
And I think that having 3 kids, I have really tried to not put that pressure on my oldest.
Right.
And so sometimes I look back and I think, gosh, you seem so much more immature than I was. But probably because I don't want him to, I don't even know. I don't want him to look back and think and be like, Mom, you blame me for everything. The mm-hmm. things that sometimes roll in my head.
You're giving him the gift of childhood.
I am. Right. I'm really trying to focus on letting them be kids.
Right.
Because as, every generation goes on, I kind of feel like you either follow how you were raised or you do the complete opposite.
Exactly.
And then from there, like for how I do it, I understand I'm probably doing complete opposite of how I was raised, but at the same time, taking aspects that I really thought were positive, work ethic, respect,
That's
things
right.
like that, establishing those within my kids.
Right.
But just not putting that raise your sibling, you're the oldest, you should know better.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of mentality. But
I have a left brainer and a right brainer. Sophie is very creative. She's very musical, and she is a little bit of a gypsy. And then Raymond is much more analytical and very organized. So I am constantly trying to facilitate both of their growth, both of them to grow in their, and not forcing them to be the same, or forcing one to think like the other. They are definitely different types of thinkers, and
hands down. And it's so obvious with kids, isn't it?
It is.
Like you look at your kids and you're like, you can label them out and be like, apps, this one's this way, and night and day.
Sophie's just starting to really, she was my firstborn, so I gave her a lot of time to bloom, to blossom, to grow into what kind of person she wants to be, what kind of woman she wants to be. And she's going to be 21 on the 2nd. And so she is, headed to her, second chapter here. Right. She's finishing up her AA. She's going off to be she's a psychology major. So she's going to go off and leave and go finish that. And she is really bloomed into a wonderful young lady. Right. And she's very, very creative. And, sometimes she is my hardest critic because she, I'll be very rigid and very organized. We need to do this, this, and this. And she'll come over and she's got purple shirt on and red pants with platform boots on. And I'm like, oh, right. Uninhibited. She reminds me to be uninhibited. Whereas Raymond, I just sort of follow him around because he has always been on his way somewhere. Since the minute I got pregnant with him, I had it when I got pregnant with Ray. I had some issues between Sophie and Ray. They're 7 years apart. It was just like an emotional roller coaster, and I just said, that was it. I am done with this. I had miscarried. I went on a raw food diet to sort of try to heal my body. And automatically pregnant with Raymond. I was like, okay, well, I guess you've decided to come in your own time.
Right.
And he did. And then I proceeded to stay on bed rest for almost my entire pregnancy.
Oh my gosh.
Because he was ready to go. He's like, look, I am coming today. And I'm like, yeah, you're not. You've got 2 more months to cook in there, bud. Right. So, and then he has just been on his way somewhere. And I am just facilitating that. I bring the snacks. I give him the rides. I keep him between the buoys.
Yeah.
And
but I feel like his drive, he knows exactly what he wants.
He does.
For his age, he just seems, to me, he seems like he's 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
He's on that journey. Like he knows.
He's on his own.
He knows what he wants.
Right. God gave me this job.
Right.
God literally put this job in my womb to raise these kids, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So,
well, you're doing a good job, Mama.
Well,
just want to say,
I appreciate that. Being a mom is a tough job, and it's thankless. So, and I don't do anything for my kids that I expect anything back. But it's hard. You never hear that. You never hear you're doing a great job, Mom. Yeah. You're
but
just winging it.
I just keep telling myself, I know they think it.
Yeah.
You might not think I'm the coolest right now.
Yeah. But I've lost my cool completely. I'm not cool in either. I'm kind of coming around again with Sophie just because she's getting a little older. But, I'm only cool when I bring prime drinks to the entire dugout or, provide, Chick-fil-A sandwiches to the 8-man biker gang that's in the backyard. Then I'm cool again. But, it is interesting having a 13-year-old boy. But let me tell you this. He had his first girlfriend.
Oh, Lord.
Now, this is a school girlfriend. He sees at school, right?
Okay.
He would see at school. he comes to me after 3 months and he says, well, we're breaking up. And I'm like, well, okay, so what's going on?
Right. What happened?
Well, he said, I said, okay, what's going on? Why are you breaking up? And he said, well, this relationship isn't working for me, Mom, because she's only giving 40%.
Oh, right.
I was like, in that moment, I had to contain myself. In that moment, I was like, Mom, win.
Right.
I am doing a good job. Yes, Mom. And, but it's those moments only, you know, that you think to yourself, okay, but you have to stay quiet because you don't want to spook them.
Right.
You know, you have to stay quiet and like take it in on your own. But there are very few moments like that when you feel like I'm doing it because you're winging it.
Yeah.
I've never had a 21-year-old before. I've never had a 13-year-old son in my life. You know, this is the first time I'm experiencing all of this.
Yeah.
You know,
the whole dating thing.
Oh my gosh.
Freaks me out. I told Talon, so, you know, they are in 7th grade.
Yeah.
So Talon's going to be a freshman. But when he was in 7th grade, he, you know, he would say, oh, all my friends are dating. And you could tell he kind of had some girls he was interested in. And so my feedback to him was, girls are crazy.
We are.
So let all your friends date them.
Yeah.
This is what I told him. Let all your friends date the girls, figure out who's normal and who's crazy.
Okay.
Let them date all 7th and 8th grade. You just be friends. Figure out who's normal, who the crazies are. So when you get to high school, you have now figured it out.
So you're basically telling your son to throw his homies out as the bait. As bait.
Let the sharks attack.
See who gets bitten, and then see which ones survive. Okay.
Yeah, so when you go into high school, then you know who's not crazy, and focus and spend some time. And if you want to date, you want to date. But, you know, honestly, 7th grade, you would have thought I was the not cool mom. Like, oh, Mom, everyone's dating. Like, why can't I date? And I was like, you don't need to date. Just focus on school, and that's what I told him. Like, figure out who the crazies are. And I'm like, you will thank me later.
Yeah.
And then now, last year in 8th grade, I was like, you know, so you're interested in dating, or you have any girls?
Well, now it's different.
And then he was like, no, I'm not really. I don't really care. Now, so it became like in 7th grade, you really wanted to date.
Yeah.
8th grade is like, meh, not cool. So we'll see how now that we're going into high school.
High school's a whole different pond.
See. Yeah. Now I've got to like prepare. It's probably why I drink so much. I need to like prepare for these years of high school. This is my oldest.
Well,
so.
And it's a whole different language. You're dating.
Did you get that from your kids yet? Mom, bruh. I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
I hear bruh about 50 times a day. And I have to remind him, and not only that, I mean, since I have 13-year-old boys in my backyard all the time, I'm constantly like, hey, there's a lady present.
Yeah, my name's Mom.
Let's not forget, just because I'm the mom over here. Or I make them open the doors for me, and I'll say, hey, ladies first. When the food is served, they all know now what the rules are. You know, so girls eat first, ladies eat first. Gentlemen, are you opening the door for me, or am I doing that myself? Which is a whole nother conversation about masculinity and femininity. But, you know, this, like, dating now is not like I remember. It is not like I remember. So trying to talk to my 13-year-old boy about talking, Mom, we're just talking, or dating, those are two different things. I had no idea.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh, no, it's the same thing. If you're just...
I went through the whole talking, dating situation.
Horrible.
But I have to say, I still don't understand at that age what they do. They don't drive.
Right.
So you send a snap? It's all texting.
Well, yeah.
Half of them can't even have a normal conversation in person. Mm-hmm. Like, well, what do you do? Like, do you talk at school? Like, do you just sit together?
Well,
I'm so confused.
In my journey of raising a warrior, I can teach him so much as a mom.
Right.
But he needs that masculine around him, and he needs to know those man rules. So I give him money to tip the valet when we leave places. He does open my door. He carries my bags when we go shopping. He does all of those things. But, so Raymond is, much different than Sophie is. So when she started dating, she was very googly and lovey and, dreamy, right? Raymond started flipping sneakers when he started dating. And I was like, what's going on here? He's like, Mom, I want to spend my birthday money. I want to buy these tennis shoes, these sneakers. He started flipping sneakers so that he would have money. to buy what he needed, to do what he needed to do, because he wanted to take girls to the movie theater.
Cute.
He wanted to date and court. So he needed money, he needed bread for that.
Yeah.
And so he started this little sneaker flipping business and has, made it on making things on his own. Mm-hmm. I'll say to him, we're going to the Ravine. Here's some money to go to the Ravine. He's like, no, Mom, I got it. I've got Apple Pay. Like, what? Him. You're 13, bud.
I know. They're growing up too fast.
Yeah, they grow up fast. I'm trying to give them, the joys of being, to have a childhood and be that. But this kid is going somewhere, and he's going somewhere fast. So,
well, it just shows what a good mom you are, and you're raising a good one.
Oh, man, I'm winging it.
I think you're doing an awesome job.
Thank you, but I totally am shooting from the hip here and winging it.
Aren't we all, though?
Yeah.
Like, honestly, do we know what we're doing?
No.
We just pray and hope that we know what the heck we're doing in the end. So.
I mean, Talon's super independent, Yeah. He's super independent. And, like, he's already, I envision him already in a dorm room for some reason.
Well, he is 6'1".
Yeah.
And he just turned 14, so he kind of looks like that.
He does look like that, but he's
still a baby. Like, he's still I don't know. He's like a big kid, but like a teddy bear.
Yeah.
So it's that weird, awkward. I always warn him, though, like, just be careful you don't get jumped, because, like, people think he's 6'1". Most kids that age aren't that young, so it's always a little scary, but I think you're doing good. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
But let's get back to you.
Oh, my God.
I just feel like, what else is new besides your whole change of life?
My whole shift? Yeah, I don't know.
Man.
That has taken up this last year. That has taken up a whole year.
So when did you officially sell? Was it within how many months?
In the last it's been in the last year that I thought to myself, it started my journey on this road, started a year ago. And, Veg Boss we're a marketing company, so we broker produce. And it just, I don't care about what happens with broccoli. I don't care. I don't really... I don't really mind. I don't love that aspect of it. Mm-hmm. I'm not a farmer. I'm not, growing a product in the ground. It's not multi-generational, just a commodity for me. And so, my mom teaching me the skills that she taught me were beneficial to the company. Joining all of these different organizations, Latino Women in Business, Latino Chamber of Commerce, mm-hmm. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, all of these different groups that I joined, they taught me how to be a businesswoman. I had no idea. So a couple of years ago, Veg Boss won Business of the Year from the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce.
I saw that.
Okay.
Congrats.
Thank you. I still am, I have the award, yes, up still in my office so I can see it, like right in front of my computer so that I can see it all the time.
It's a huge accomplishment.
It was for me. And I had no idea. Like, I showed up in Palm Springs for this award ceremony, and I brought my little H&M bathing suit and my, H&M outfit. Like, I just went and, bought vacation wear, right? I show up to this place. Men are in Armani suits. Women are in powerhouse suits, with, walking around with lanyards. And I'm like, holy cow, where have I landed, right?
Yeah.
Right at the door, a handler greets me and says, I am your handler.
Oh.
And I'm like, you're what? Handle what? I had no idea about handlers. Mm-hmm. These are your rooms. We booked this for you. We've got a cabana for you. There's a beach party. There's a pool party. You have interviews. Here's your schedule. Here's your itinerary for the next 3 days. Yeah. You have a lot of interviews. You have this, you have that. And I ended up my head was spinning. Just spinning.
Yeah.
I had all of these different things to do, and I didn't realize that I don't really think I've realized that I had become the Veg Boss until that moment. And when they put my face up on the screen and they had done this little interview with me when I was accepting the award, and I walked up on the screen or on the stage, I walked up to get the award. I turned around and looked, and I had brought Ray with me. I took him out of school and brought him with me because I wanted him to see what a strong female looked like. Right? I wanted him to get a visual of his mom getting this award. And I turned around and looked at him, and he had the biggest look of pride. And he had grabbed my phone and was videoing.
Oh, cute.
Without prompting. But I looked down at, the other people sitting at my table that had been with me this entire journey. They were looking at me like they were in a moment of, what in the heck is going on? Because it just was not natural for me. It wasn't normal for me or natural for me to be in that place. Yeah. And for me, Veg Boss was a place that I created. I built this brand from nothing. I became the face of this brand. That's what I could contribute to the company. I couldn't go out and do sales. I don't know how to sell produce. I don't know how.
You want to sell broccoli?
No. But let me tell you this.
Cauliflower?
Well, no, I can eat broccoli. I can cook broccoli. I had no idea where to get a contract or where to, where to get product. But I started to apply my life skills that I had learned from my dad. So I grew up with a dad who was a gangster. My dad was a drug dealer back in the day.
Hustler.
And he was a hustler, baby. And I learned that broccoli is a commodity. Now, so I started asking my dad, and he's like, look, you just need to find a supplier and a customer. That's all you need.
Right.
And I was like, a supplier and a customer. Okay, so I need to find material, and then I need to find someone who wants that material. I seriously put my gangster hat on and started thinking like, okay, this is just a commodity. So moving commodities, this is not cocaine we're moving.
Right.
This is broccoli. Same thing. Yeah. Totally the same thing.
So he taught you economics 101.
Honestly, so I didn't really think about my childhood being that valuable until I had to apply it in the business world. And I started applying my mom's skills that my mother had taught me. My mom's 4'11" Hispanic woman, didn't graduate from high school, did not go to college, starting having children very young. And she's been a manager. She has been a manager. She's been a vice president. She's been a chauffeur. She's been all of these jobs that I started listing that she did. Mm-hmm. Also, she was my dad's right-hand man. She knew where it was all at. She managed all of it and managed him, which was a handful.
Well, of course the woman did that.
So
don't we all?
Seems like a role that we take. It does seem like a role that we take.
I think it's a natural thing, and a lot of times we don't even know that we're doing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we cover our husbands, we do the back end work, we take care of the kids, we work ourselves. Mm-hmm. And then, there's some nights when I sit down or I go upstairs and I think to myself, I still have my shoes on.
Yeah.
And it's like 9:30.
Honestly.
And I haven't even taken my shoes off from work today, which means I haven't sat down.
Yeah.
And probably just watching the house, and some kid was like, Mom, what's for dinner? Blah, blah, blah. And you just kept going, answered the phone, emailed, and it just flies by. So
it does. And it's funny because I've never had anyone to ask me, how are you? Are you okay? And so now to have a relationship with someone who asks me, did you even eat today? Yeah. What have you eaten? He constantly asks me, what did you eat? And when you grow up a poor a Hispanic girl, there are a couple things that are really important to you. Food, number one. I was climbing trees as a little kid. Mrs. Contreras from down the street would call my mom and say, ay, mija, she's in the tree again. She's in the apricot tree again. She's eating apricots. And I told her she's going to get a stomach. And I still love apricots to this day. And I was that ragamuffin kid running around the block with a street full of boys. We were winging it. We were drinking water out of the hose. We were eating green apricots from Mrs. Contreras' tree. So food is a big thing for me. Yeah. Also shoes. Shoes are a big thing. I had this pair of Yves Saint Laurent shoes, beautiful shoes, very expensive, much more than should have been spent on these shoes. Yeah. I had them in a box for months, wore them, pulled them out and wore them to the awards banquet when I got the award for Business of the Year. Literally have not worn them since. I'm going to have to work through that because I don't really know if it's an issue of not feeling like I am worthy of the shoes or if I am cherishing the shoes. I haven't come to that yet, but the shoes I look at every day and I think, gosh, those are great shoes, but I don't put them on.
Really?
Really.
Well, you deserve those shoes.
I look at the shoes.
Girls. And put those shoes on. You deserve them.
I look at the shoes and I think to myself, those are great shoes. And I have purchased myself several pairs of Louboutins. Mm-hmm. Now, for a Hispanic woman to walk around in some bloody bottoms is a big deal.
Yep. But better polish those up after you wear them, too.
I haven't worn them.
Scratch it. What?
They're still sitting in my shoe cabinet, and I look at them every day. But I don't wear the shoes. It's the strangest block that I have. So I'm going to need to work through, in this journey, I'm going to have to start working through the shoe issue.
Yeah. Because you know that there's some reason behind it.
Right.
And like you said, is it that you think you don't deserve them? Mm-hmm. Is it something that they're just too beautiful that you thought you never had?
Yeah.
Wear those shoes, girl.
I'm going to work on it. I'm going to work on it. It's something that, has been
display those shoes.
I display the shoes in my house so I can look at them. Mm-hmm. But I just haven't gotten to the place where I can put the shoes on yet. Yeah. So, it's a work. From
friend to friend.
Thank you.
You deserve it. Wear those shoes.
It's a work in progress.
It is.
Which is what this podcast has started for. Reaching out, being vulnerable, making mistakes, showing your mistakes, and being able to like just now I was coming to this, here to meet Robert here at RP3. And I went to the wrong building. That is the life of an angry bee. Yeah. Because I woke up this morning, the cat threw up on the floor. I've got a battle with a squirrel that lives in the backyard. I've been battling with this squirrel for 3 years. It's a total menace, this squirrel. I don't know what kind of noise that squirrel makes, but it's kind of like a barking / laughing. I think he's laughing. Torments the cats, but I don't have the heart to put out a squirrel box and kill the squirrel. Yeah. So I tolerate this damn squirrel. He's out there barking at the dog and the cat. Last night I had the skunk show up at the house and sprayed the whole backyard. And then Sophie comes out and tells me, Mom, I don't have a bikini bottom to match this bikini. Can you find it for me? And I'm like, babe, listen, you're going to be 21 in a couple of days. I think you can be in charge of finding your own bikini bottom. Yeah. That's all just like
this morning.
Right. Exactly. Just this morning before I got here. So I'm cleaning up cat barf, listening to the squirrel, smelling the skunk, trying to find bikini bottoms. Then I go into Raymond's room and I'm like, hey, bud. He's still sleeping, of course. Yeah. Get a haircut at 2:00. He's like, no problem. I'll just ride my e-bike over there.
Right. Like, I love that. I love where we live for that reason. Like, go to Old Orchid.
Yeah.
Get on your bike.
Yeah.
Life is, man. I have to say, the amount of stuff that happens in a day is always mind-boggling to me. Mm-hmm. The craziness.
Yeah, well, you have 3 kids.
Like what?
It's a lot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I just think this is a good step for you.
It is.
No matter where it takes you.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. This isn't going to be the perfect podcast, first off, because you have me on it, and I have no idea what I'm doing. But
that's the point, is that it's not perfect. Yeah. It's not perfect. None of this is perfect. None of this life is perfect. We're all going through some stuff, and
growing.
And I'm on this journey. I'm on this shifting journey, and I want to create an arena for people to feel open enough and safe enough and free enough to just ask for help. Ask for, if you don't know how to spell the word, just ask I don't know how to spell that word. Do you know how to spell that word?
What?
Can you help me with it? I don't know, whatever it is. And because in my previous life, I felt, invisible. I didn't have the answers, but I found the answers. Mm-hmm. And I just realized that I could not, and I was not willing to settle for mediocre anymore. Yeah. I was not willing to settle for a mediocre existence of trying to fight or flight, figure it out. So this patience, quiet and still, is giving me the space to let go.
Right.
Let go of what I perceived my life was going to be like. And now that I'm I'm turning the corner to the other side, oh man, it feels good.
That's a huge step in itself and an accomplishment.
It feels great.
Right there.
It feels great.
So you may not know the journey you're on, but I mean right there.
This morning I went into my old office. I went over because the sign guy was taking the sign down off the building.
Oh.
Today. He scheduled it for today. So I went over and I watched him put the ladder up, get his tools out, and start taking down the sign. And I took a deep breath, looked at my old life, and I said to myself, never again. I'll never see that mediocre life again.
Yeah. What a perfect day for that.
Yeah.
And then you kicked off this.
Yeah. Thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you.
I just wish you the best on your journey and your shift.
Oh, thank you.
Because as you know, you're amazing. You're an amazing mom, amazing babe, amazing boss, friend. And I just hope that you know that there is a circle of women out there, me included, that have your back, no matter if you feel that or not.
Oh, I appreciate that.
And it's okay to ask for help.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Thank you for today. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.